Welcome! Today we're diving into the core ideas from a book that is, well, pretty radical. Neville Goddard's The Power of Awareness. We're going to explore his fundamental claim that you don't just experience reality, you actually create it. And of course, if you create it, you can change it.
So let's just start with a question that gets right to the heart of it all. Have you ever felt totally and completely stuck? Trapped by your job, your money situation, your relationships, as if the world outside of you is calling all the shots. That feeling is exactly what this whole philosophy is designed to take apart.
And here's his wild solution. He suggests that we've been doing everything completely backwards. We spend all our energy trying to change the reflection we see in the mirror, the external world. But he says the real work, the only work that really matters, is changing our own face, which is our own consciousness.
Okay, so where do we even begin? Well, first, we have to challenge a really fundamental belief we have about how reality even works. Neville's first principle is super simple, but also incredibly profound. Your world is just a mirror, and it's always reflecting you.
This right here is the core argument. The book says we're all living under this massive delusion, the belief that things just happen to us. We blame the economy, we blame our boss, we blame bad luck, but Goddard argues those are just secondary causes. The one and only primary cause of absolutely everything in your life is your own state of consciousness.
So, if our consciousness is the cause of everything, what exactly is it? This brings us to the absolute central pillar of his entire philosophy, the true nature and incredible power of what he calls I am.
See, for Goddard, consciousness isn't just you being aware of things. It's not some byproduct of your brain. No, he says it is the very fabric of reality itself. It's the literal substance that all things, your circumstances, your conditions, even physical objects, are made of.
Now, this slide makes a really crucial distinction. On the left, you've got I am. That's your permanent, unchanging core. It's just is. But on the right, you have all the temporary ideas you attach to it. I am rich, I am poor, I am healthy, I am sick. According to Goddard, those aren't who you really are. They're just temporary states that your permanent I am is currently wearing, like a costume.
And this just nails the point home, doesn't it? The concepts you believe are true about yourself, they act like a blueprint. Your reality, the world around you, has no choice but to build itself according to that blueprint. Your I am is the builder, and your concept of yourself is the plan it follows, no questions asked.
Okay, so if consciousness is the cause and our self-concept is the blueprint, how do we actually change the plan? This next part is all about the practical, how-to method for consciously creating a brand new reality for yourself.
The technique, as it's laid out in the book, has three key parts. First, you need an intense, burning desire. You can't be lukewarm about this. Second, physical stillness. You get into a deeply relaxed state, almost like you're about to fall asleep, where your body is quiet, but your mind is awake and controlled. And third, and this is the big one, you assume the feeling of your wish already being a fact.
And here it is. This is the secret sauce. It's a huge psychological shift. You are not thinking about being wealthy. You are thinking from the state of being wealthy. You're not looking at a goal way off on the horizon. You're standing at the finish line, feeling exactly what it feels like to have already won. That is the whole secret. All right, I know what you're thinking. The theory sounds great, but does this stuff actually work? Well, the book is full of real-life case studies to show how this power of assumption works in practice. Let's take a look at a couple of them.
So our first case is about a soldier back in 1943. He desperately wanted out of the Army, but his application for an honorable discharge was denied flat out by his commanding officer. And according to the rules, that decision was final. He was completely stuck.
So, for 8 nights in a row, he used the exact technique we just talked about. Lying there on his uncomfortable army cot, he got into that sleepy state, and in his imagination, he felt himself back home in his own apartment in New York. He imagined walking around the rooms, touching his own furniture, and falling asleep in his own bed.
Okay, here's another really powerful example. A young man's family was left totally disgraced and almost broke after his father's business was lost through a betrayal. The son set this incredibly audacious goal: to take over the very building that housed the company that had wronged his family. So twice a day, he would stand across the street from that building, and in his imagination, with his eyes wide open, he would see his family's name N. Lord & Sons on the giant sign out front. He wasn't just daydreaming, he was persistently seeing it as a present moment fact.
He did this every single day for 2 years. 2 years! Can you imagine? He held onto that vision with unwavering faith, even though his external reality showed absolutely zero signs of changing.
And then the impossible happened. The original company went bankrupt. On the exact day the building went up for sale, a near stranger who was impressed by the family's work ethic just provided all the capital for them to buy it. His persistent assumption had finally, after all that time, hardened into solid fact.
These stories are pretty compelling, right? But they also lead to a really obvious question. If it's this simple, why doesn't it work for everyone all the time? Let's just tackle that question head on. I mean, if this law is so powerful, why doesn't it work every single time for every single person? Why do our assumptions sometimes just fail to show up in our world? This is a super important point, and thankfully the book gives a very clear answer.
First, we have to redefine a word. In this way of thinking, sin has nothing to do with breaking some moral code. It's an old archery term that simply means to miss the mark, to fail to achieve your goal. So, when an assumption fails, you've sinned. Or in other words, you've missed your target.
And here is the reason we miss the mark. The secret ingredient, the key to it all, is naturalness. If your assumption feels forced or unnatural, or just like you're desperately wishing for something, it won't take root. You have to persist in that imaginative act until the feeling of being that new person feels completely and utterly natural to you. That's the key. When you really boil it down, Goddard's work is a call to take radical responsibility for your life. It's this incredibly empowering message that you are not a victim of your circumstances, but the creator of your reality. So the final question isn't whether you can build your own world, but rather what kind of world will you choose to build.